Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 81. War Machine. Monaco GP VIP Room, Monaco. May 22, 2010, 1430H Local. Tony, good to see you and your family here. Justin Hammer greeted the Stark family with his slimy, over-the-top confident swagger. Pepper almost unconsciously moved Morgan out of Hammer's line of sight. Tony stepped forward to greet Hammer while covering the fact that he's hiding Pepper and Morgan. Naruto and Natalie were fascinated by how Pepper and Tony both perceived Hammer as a possible threat at the sidelines, acting together just like a pair of wolves protecting their pup. Naruto can't even blame them since Hammer kind of reminds him of Gato. Both are overconfident assholes with fuck-ton of money who just happens to be pussies. And they smell bad too, can't forget about that. Why the hell did he even buy those kinds of cologne? Hey, my least favorite people on earth. Tony greeted with a fake smile, clearly not wanting to talk with Hammer. Hey, pal, but Hammer clearly decided just to ignore Tony's tone and push through the conversation. How did you get in here? Shouldn't you be on the floor below? Some people have fancy cars too, you know. Oh right, you guys had to rush to build your car, and it barely passed the committee. Some are even suggesting to downgrade your car to Formula 2 just in case. Naruto, with his enhanced hearing, could hear Hammer grinding his teeth. So he signaled Natasha to take Pepper and Morgan away and seat them on a table. There's no way in hell Naruto would miss Tony roasting Hammer. How about we make a little bet? Tony just raised his eyebrow to show his curiosity. My team will finish on the podium for the Constructors' Championship. Tony couldn't help but release a full-blown laugh followed by a chuckle from Naruto. Oh, come on, Justin. Can't even take the championship from me. Hammer's expression darkened for a bit before he covered it up with his usual expression. Be careful, Tony. I have a presentation at your expo that might just bite you in the ass. Hammer couldn't be more ominous if he tried. Well, I wish you the best. I think, Tony replied before walking away. The bug is still active, right? Naruto asked when they're quite a distance away from everyone. Nope, already gone, Tony replied, emphasizing the P. The seal. Do you even have to ask? Of course, it's active. Naruto pulled out his phone and sent a quick text before continuing. Vanko is already in the land of baguettes. It's almost 100% certain that they'll fucked up somewhere, and he'll die. You know how it is. Then the copycat will land in the hands of another copycat. Tony groaned out. He really hates copycats. They moved towards their reserved table at the corner of the room. Morgan was already eating a cheeseburger while Pepper ordered a house salad. She also ordered a steak for Tony, which was already placed at the table. Natasha placed herself at a cocktail table near the Starks drinking scotch on the rocks. So, naturally, Naruto parked himself next to her to deter anyone from eyeing the femme fatale. What's a dame like you doing in a dump like this? Naruto started with the best 40s gangster from New York he can muster. A guy did me wrong. There've been a lot of people in my life, all of them fighters. Natasha answered while playing with the whiskey glass. Then there comes this guy, who's not like anyone I've ever met. He doesn't want to be a fighter. He just wanted to have a vacation. Naruto's smile cracked when he heard the final part. Why do I sound so lame? I'm a badass guy, right? Naruto practically begged, causing Natasha to release a chuckle. Just pick up Jess while Stark is busy with Elon Musk trying to convince him for another collab for Tesla. No matter the situation, Natasha would always be professional in a job. So it didn't surprise Naruto one bit that she kept one ear to the Stark table while they were flirting. We were having a moment, and you pushed to another girl. The audacity, Naruto jokingly said before walking away. Naruto gave Natasha one last wink before entering the emergency fire exit since it's empty according to his senses. From the other side of the door, it would look like Naruto got inside the door and got out 5 seconds later with a leather jacket wearing woman. Quote. I mean, it's a great weekend getaway. You just have to remember that you haven't met Natalie yet. I already know that. You don't need to remind me. Jessica interjected. And it's an open bar. Naruto finished. Why didn't you start with that? Let's go. Jessica pulled Naruto towards the bar. She might not be considered an alcoholic, but it can't be denied that she still has a huge appreciation for alcohol, especially if it's free. It didn't take long for the couple to get their drinks and walk towards the Starks' table. Morgan was the first one to see them approaching. Her smile could even bring Jessica to grin even though she claims to hate children. "Jessie!" Morgan shouted as soon as she jumped off her seat to run towards Jessica. Jessica had no choice but to catch the torpedo masquerading as a girl. Tony and Pepper were quite surprised to see Jessica at Monaco since she always hated being anywhere with plenty of people. As far as Pepper knows, Jessica barely managed to be at their wedding. "Happy birthday, kiddo. We haven't seen each other for a while," Jessica said while lifting Morgan. Naruto noticed that noise inside the room significantly died down. He looked around and saw that some were intently staring at Jessica carrying Morgan. Most of them were gossips or reporters. Naruto knew he forgot to say something, and that's Morgan's birthday was still a secret to limit media attention. It's a good thing that Jessica's attention was entirely drawn to Morgan. Well, not good precisely, since Natasha was watching the scene and noticed that Jessica had not reached Nat's desired situational awareness. Naruto subtly moved Jessica to sit down at the Starks' table, facing away from the rest of the room while she's still entertaining Morgan. "Sorry for the mess," Naruto whispered to Pepper. Pepper was already feeling the headache of having to deal with the media frenzy their back-to-back news appearance caused. Sometimes, Pepper would think that Tony passed the company to her, not because of his palladium poisoning but because he doesn't want to deal with all the bullshit. Naruto walked towards Natalie and brought her over to the table. "Jess, meet Natalie Rushman, Pepper's new assistant. Nat, this is Jessica Jones, my girlfriend." Naruto introduced them to each other. The two acted that they quickly got on with each other. Tony looked at Jessica and Natalie, flabbergasted, before looking at Naruto with the same expression. "How the fuck do you do that? They should be fighting or at least trying to stake a claim." Tony shouted at Naruto. "I'm just lucky that way." Naruto's answer caused Tony's eyebrow to twitch. Hammer Industries R&D, New York City, New York. May 24, 2010, 0900H local. Justin Hammer couldn't get rid of the giddy smile off his face. He and his company has been trying to recreate Tony's Iron Man armor in the past year with little headway. The suit they have created was clunky, unresponsive, unintuitive, and glitchy. The last thing was the worst part since it could randomly paralyze the user. Now, he's receiving a gift from an anonymous benefactor. He might know much about this mysterious benefactor of his, but their interests certainly align. They both want access to the Iron Man armor, and they want to humiliate Tony Stark while doing so. If he didn't know any better, he would think his benefactor was Senator Stearns. Anyway, Hammer's benefactor contacted him that they were going to deliver a gift. A gift that could bring down the Stark dynasty. Hammer entered one of the more isolated rooms inside his R&D building and saw a guy with a black bag over his head. He ordered one of his guards to remove the bag. What he saw was a calm and collected man with multiple lacerations on his face. "Ivan Vanko. Oh, how I wanted to meet you." Hammer started with his usual flourish. He moved to the seat placed in front of Vanko and sat down. "Ask me what I want." "Come on, ask. What do you want?" Ivan asked with a heavy Russian drawl. "Well, long term, I want them to put me in the Pentagon for the next 25 years. I want to make Iron Man look like an antique. I want to go to that Stark Expo. I want to take a dump in Tony's front yard." Hammer said with a slowly darkening expression. "You know what I'm talking about." "I know what you're talking about. With your brains and my resources, we could run Tony's name to the ground." Hammer extended his hands towards Ivan. "What do you say, partner?" Ivan raised his eyebrow and waited for a hot minute before reaching for Hammer's hand. Instead of a quick shake of an agreement Hammer expected, Vanko surprised him by pulling him close and staring at him dead in the eye. "I want my bird." "Your bird?" Hammer asked, understandably confused. "Yes, my bird. In Russia. In Russia, sure. We can get your bird. Stark Mansion, Los Angeles, California. May 29, 2010, 1000H local. Sir, Colonel Rhodes is at the gate," Jarvis announced while the family was having breakfast. The Starks decided to have a slow day since it's Tony's birthday. Unlike other years, Tony opted out of having a lavish birthday celebration. Instead, he's going to have a small get-together of close friends and family, which is essentially just 7 people, including Tony. 8 if Natalie comes, which she would definitely do since she still has a job to do. Oh, come on, it's not even morning yet, Tony grumbled, exaggeratedly causing Morgan to giggle. It's already 10, Tony. It's already morning, Pepper countered. Let Rhodey in, Jarvis. Yes, Mrs. Potts. It didn't take Rhodey 5 minutes to enter the dining room. Happy birthday, Tones, Rhodey said while moving around the room, greeting the other members of the Stark family, kissing Pepper on the cheek and Morgan a hug. I hear you got a gift for me. Aren't I supposed to be the one getting presents since it's my birthday? Tony responded. Oh right, how can I forget? Rhodey retrieved a thick hard drive from inside his jacket and handed it over to Tony. DARPA programs and specs, all yours to peruse. Tony immediately adopted an excited expression. No matter how smart he was, he can't think of everything. DARPA projects are one of the best projects to tinker around. A lot of their projects aren't patented, only kept in secrecy. They will only patent it right before it's going public. It means he can play with stuff all he wants without repercussions. Things he didn't create himself. Boys, no work stuff on the table, Pepper interjected before it can get more out of hand. Grab a plate. There's some omelet and bacon left on the pan. There's garlic bread in the oven. Don't mind if I do, Peps. Tony's Garage, Los Angeles, California. May 29, 2010, 1100H local. So, where's my suit? Rhodey giddily asked. Can't wait till after lunch, huh? I can't blame you, though. Tony walked to his work table and sat down in front of it. He took a gulp of his chlorophyll shake and leaned back on his chair. Rhodey held himself back from commenting about Tony's chlorophyll shake and the reason why he's drinking it. Jarvis, bring up Vault 6, please. Of course, sir, Jarvis replied. A cylindrical display case rose from the ground. One side of the tube was made of transparent material to show off what's inside. An armor with gun silver coloring and black highlights was shown in all its glory. That is what you military man would call overkill, or excessive force. It got 2-inch high-density armor layered on top of reactive armor. Quote. Jarvis was highlighting and showing the specs of the area using holograms at the same time as Tony. Dual wrist-mounted silenced 9mm machine guns, 200 rounds each. Midline mounted, dual alternating, prototype railguns sending grain-sized slivers of metal at Mach 10 speed. Shoulder and leg-mounted missiles. 12 flight control surfaces for maximum maneuverability. Finally, repulsor afterburners to enable the behemoth to fly at Mach 2.5 speed. Damn, Tony, you don't need to them dirty. Rhodey said, more than just impressed with the suit. So what's the downside? Otherwise, you'll just put this tech in your armor. 3 things. First, it has a significantly shorter operational time while using it in heavy combat situations. 6 hours compared to my 15. Secondly, it doesn't have many non-lethal options, as you can see with the loadout. Finally, it's a step down in speed, agility, ground maneuverability, and strength compared to my suit. A lot of the internal mechanics have to be moved around or removed altogether to make space for the ammo and armor. Tony explained. Understandable, Rhodey replied while still looking at the suit. So, what do I call this baby? War Machine Mark 1. Tony released an excited grin before continuing. Wanna test it out? Chapter 82. Not officially. Stark Mansion, Los Angeles, California. May 30, 2010, 1000H local. Quote. In other news, multi-billionaire, former CEO, and Iron Man himself, Tony Stark, has given a modified Iron Man suit to the United States military. Notably, the U.S. Air Force. Although the specifications are classified, we can speculate on what it was built to do. As seen in these officially released photos, the black and gray suit named War Machine Mark 1 has opted out of the usual Iron Man armor design. Tony Stark prioritized firepower and air maneuverability based on the large cannon mounted at the back, thick armor, and multiple flight surfaces. As per the agreement, Colonel James Rhodes, decorated serviceman and best friend of Tony Stark, is the chosen pilot for the War Machine armor. The abrupt donation of the highly advanced exosuit is due to the recent appearance of a similar exosuit in Monaco, which was handled by Tony Stark himself. Now, we'll see if the promised squadron of Iron Man armors will be delivered in the future. Wow, the news loves you, Naruto said while chilling on the couch. Pepper went to Stark Industries to go into some meetings. Some of them are about Tony's recent donation and its particulars, including legal and public relations. She brought Morgan with her so, as she said, doesn't get cooped up and become a motorhead at 5 years old. Effectively leaving Naruto and Tony on their lonesome. I know, right, who would have thought gifting the US military with a multi-billion-dollar death machine would garner that much public support? Tony replied. With his improved public image and a recent donation of defensive and some offensive military hardware, there have been talks of him being appointed as the Secretary of Defense. It's all up in the air, but it's slowly gaining traction. Tony won't even consider accepting the invitation if he was offered it since it would cut into his family and lab time. Naruto's phone suddenly ringed, causing him to stumble for his pocket. He took it out and answered. Hello, Haim, what you doing? Really? Now? Of course not. I've been waiting for it for a month. No problem. Be there in 20. Naruto pocketed his phone and looked towards Tony with a mischievous glint in his eyes. We're going to get some donuts. No. No. I want to stay at home and watch some movies before going back to the lab. Tony emphatically replied, not wanting to leave the house since he's too lazy to leave the house. Definitely not because of Pepper telling them not to go and stay at home. Come on, we're not going far, just Randy's Donuts. All right, we'll take your car, but we better get back home before Pepper comes home. She comes home at 6. We'll be back way before that. Come on. Naruto stood up from the sofa. Whatever happens, remember, look at the camera. Randy's Donuts, Los Angeles, California. May 30, 2010, 1030H local. Randy's Donuts is one of LA's iconic areas. The massive donut on the roof even got ripped off by The Simpsons. So it's understandable why Tony was confused seeing the empty parking lot. Let's go. We'll have free donuts, Naruto cheerily said as he walked towards the entrance. Tony gave up a long time ago from questioning Naruto's quirkiness, so he just followed him through the door. The inside of the donut house is just as empty as the parking lot. Empty except for the pirate in black. You and the blondie over there are playing a dangerous game. Fury started while motioning for Tony to sit down at the other side of his booth. Well, more dangerous for you than him. Can't seem to kill no matter how hard I try. Naruto moved to an open booth that had a great vantage point of Tony's face. He set down a small camera and concealed it using the menu. Sorry, I don't want to get on the wrong foot, but where do I look? Your eye or your eye patch? Tony asked, but no one could tell if it was sarcastic or not. Letting Vanko live and giving what essentially amounts to a flying tank to the military, basically baiting everyone who has it out for you to come out the woodworks. That's a slippery slope you're trekking, Fury said before taking a sip of his coffee. Better the devil you know. Tony took one donut from the box set on the table by Fury and took a bite from it. I'm sure you know, but I got a family now. I need to make sure they're happy and safe, and that involves knowing everything I need to know. Fury stared at Tony for a good while before continuing. That thing in your chest. It was never finished, you know. I know. It was never viable enough until I miniaturized it. No, Howard said the arc reactor was the stepping stone to something greater. He was about to kick off an energy race that was gonna dwarf the arms race. He was on to something big, something so big that it was gonna make the nuclear reactor look like a triple A battery. Tony digested everything Fury said. He was thinking to himself that his dad was a lot like him in some ways. You told me I haven't tried everything. What do you mean I haven't tried everything? What haven't I tried? Tony asked, a little miffed about Fury's implication. He said that you were the only person with the means and knowledge to finish what he started. If you're that guy, then you can solve the riddle of your heart. Fury replied. Not even a second later, they heard Naruto's coughing fit, probably choking from his coffee. Sorry, I just never heard you talk something cheesy before. Naruto said with a smirk. Carry on. I'm not going to say that my old man is a cold and calculative asshole since we obviously have different memories of him. Tony leaned back on his chair. But what do you want? Simple. I want you to meet someone. Fury answered with a knowing smile. The door opened and in walked Natalie Rushman. Well, she's Natalie Rushman if she wore a skin-tight tactical suit and guns hanging from her hips. Naruto could see Tony's reaction seeing Nat walk in. Tony's jaw dropped with a totally gobsmacked expression. Tony could hear Naruto cackling in the background. Slowly he turned his head toward Naruto and saw him practically dying of laughter. Looking closer, he could see a haphazardly hidden camera on the table. So that's what the fucker meant. He knew all along. Tony thought. Wait, his other girlfriend is a super spy. Motherfucker. I want you to meet Agent Natasha Romanoff. Fury said with a shit-eating grin. She's going to maintain her cover in your company as an added protection to whatever shenanigans you might get into. As fast as Tony's brain works, he still hasn't processed that the Natalie Naruto was flirting with was actually the super spy girlfriend he was talking about. Agent Coulson is waiting at your mansion with a crate of Howard's stuff. He left me some of his things for safekeeping. Fury got out of the booth and looked around for a bit. It seems like you won't need our help with temporarily abating the syndromes, but it won't last forever. Tony finally snapped out of his shock, even temporarily, and looked at Fury. I've been looking for a suitable replacement for palladium. I've tried every combination, every permutation of every known element. Tony explained. Well, I'm here to tell you, you haven't tried them all. Fury answered back before walking out of the donut house. So should I call you Natalie or Natasha or maybe Natashali? Tony sarcastically commented. Call me whatever you're comfortable with. Natasha picked up a sugar-glazed donut and took a bite from it. Though it would be easier to call me Natalie while I'm still on the job. Wow, that's a good laugh. Naruto interjected while walking towards their booth. And I got all that on camera. I'll show it to Pepper later. He leaned in on Natasha and gave her a quick peck on the lips. I'll take a box of donuts back to the office. Mrs. Potts sent me out to get some files, so I need to get back soon. Natasha stood up from her seat and took a box of donuts from behind the counter. I'll see you later. She kissed Naruto one last time before leaving. Naruto and Tony remained sitting down. Well, Naruto would release a chuckle every now and then due to Tony's cycling facial expressions. He let it continue for another minute or two before snapping Tony out of his mental loop. Come on, man, you got some work to do. Naruto took the remaining boxes of donuts and led Tony out of Randy's Donuts. Stark Industries, Los Angeles, California. May 30, 2010, 1300H local. Pepper was having a hectic day. Who would have thought taking multiple days off in the span of 2 weeks could pile up the work? It would be another 15 minutes before her next meeting. Maybe she could visit Morgan at the nursery again. But it looks like her plan needs to be held for now. Tony burst into the room with a tired yet excited expression. In his right hand is a box of cheesecake, though she doesn't know what flavor it is. In his other hand was a large cup of coffee. I came bearing sustenance, Tony announced as soon as he got inside. He placed the box of cheesecake and coffee on Pepper's table and sat down on the guest chair. Pepper had to stop himself from smiling, seeing Tony's antics. But at least she can tell that he brought her blueberry cheesecake. Her favorite dessert. Okay, you brought a bribe. What did you and Naruto do now? Pepper sarcastically asked with a raised eyebrow. I didn't do anything, promise. But Naruto decided to play a prank. A good one at that. Tony grumbled the last part. Okay, what did he do? I would rather delay the inevitable and not talk about it right now. Tony responded, though I think Naruto already finished editing the recording. Pepper released a bright smile hearing Tony's statement. I'm sure Rhodey, happy, and I would enjoy Naruto's movie. I'm sure you would, Tony mumbled. Anyway, aside from visiting my beautiful wife and my baby girl. Pepper couldn't stop herself from smiling this time. I came to get Dad's final gift. That gave pause to Pepper's train of thought. Tony might have moved on from his, for lack of a better term, daddy issues, but he still would rather not talk about Howard much. What is it? Pepper asked. Tony looked around the room a moment and pointed to one particular item in the room. One of his leftover items from when he was still the CEO and remaking the Stark Expo. The diorama, Pepper asked again for confirmation, to which Tony nodded. How did you know? You'll know in Naruto's screening how I found out, but that diorama there might be the solution for this. Tony tapped the arc reactor in his chest. Pepper's eye widened, and she quickly pressed a button on the desk phone. Natalie, can you hold my meeting for another 15 minutes? No problem, Mrs. Potts. Tony stared intently at the telephone. How come he didn't see her at the secretary's table at the office outside? Pepper stood up from her chair and practically dragged Tony towards the diorama. She then removed the white blanket covering and positioned Tony in front of it, and stood beside him. How could this help you? Pepper asked, confused. I'm not sure. Tony trailed off as he stared at the diorama. He looked through his circled hand repeatedly before dropping on the couch behind him. Holy shit. Not everyone is as intelligent as you, so Tony, talk to me, please. Tony stared at the diorama in silence for a few seconds before responding. I still need JARVIS's help to analyze this, but this looks like an atomic structure. Tony took a deep breath before continuing. A new super heavy element. And that's good, right? Pepper questioned hesitantly. That's great. Really great. Tony stood up and paced in front of the diorama before looking at Pepper again. I got an idea on how to make it, but I'll run some simulations by Jarvis. I'll take this with me. Do you need help with taking it with you? Yes, that would be great. Tony took his phone out of his pocket and dialed a number. In the meantime, I'll cash in on the favor I got from Naruto from his prank. It took a few rings, but Naruto finally answered. How fast can you dig out a new basement for the mansion? A little bit over 4 kilometers in circumference. About 15 minutes if you don't want anyone to find out about it. Naruto replied. Great, we're in hardware mod. Chapter 83. Do you even lift, bruh? Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 1, 2010, 1000H local. So he wants to call it Bodyseum? Phil asked incredulously as they watched over the small army of agents setting up a field observation tent at the center of the crater. Yup, well, it's either that or Starksium. Naruto replied. He's still running a bunch of tests if that thing is a compatible substitute to palladium without all the heavy metal poisoning drama. Yes, of course, that pesky heavy metal poisoning. Phil commented sarcastically with that smile plastered on his face. So, is that the real thing? He asked, referring to the 084 at the center of the crater. Hell should I know. I'm an alien in this dimension, remember? Phil's only response was to stare at Naruto. Fine, fine. Naruto's eyes changed to take a more comprehensive scan of the object than what he did passively. It's like a conductor. Whoever uses it would have an easier time channeling their energy. I can see 2 types of energy that flowed through it, lightning and miasma. Miasma, death. There's something like death energy. Yup, I could show you or make you feel it, but we need a human sacrifice. Naruto answered while thinking about if he should summon the Shinigami since he hadn't done it much in this world. You got any death row, guys? There's no need. Some Mjolnir's real, huh? Phil's smile got wider. That's so cool. Meh, hammers aren't really my thing. Naruto commented with a shrug. Although, I still want to try lifting it. Have you tried it? It's not professional, Phil replied. I'm just waiting for the tent to go up. He added. Ma men, Naruto exclaimed before his eyes widened. Well, that's interesting. He turned towards Phil. You got any agents in the town? Yes, a few. They're confiscating the data and records of OneDrive Jane Foster and her colleagues. We don't want anything coming out, especially if the phenomenon is alien in origin. We should go into town while they're still setting up. Why? Did you see something? Yup. Something awesome. Naruto turned around and went towards the makeshift parking area. You're driving and change into something with less men in black vibes. Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 1, 2010, 113OH local. Okay, why are we here again? Phil asked. We're having GGG. Naruto looked around the small town. Lunch in that diner. Where's Clint anyway? On the way. How do you know he's coming? Phil asked while walking towards the diner. Naruto pointed. Laura said so. Of course. When did you guys become close anyway? I bring Nat over almost every week, and I visit the kids from time to time. It messes the shit out, Clint. Naruto replied while opening the door in the diner. I also left a couple of friends over there. The huge farm and forest lets them bide around there. The duo immediately went towards an empty booth, but not before scanning the room for possible threats, assets, and exits. One thing Phil immediately noticed was the group sitting at the center of the room. Dr. Foster, her assistant Ms. Lewis, Dr. Selvig, and an unknown muscular blonde man. Phil's eyes immediately cataloged as much as he could. One thing he observed was the distinguishable body language commonly found in experienced soldiers. However, his instincts have much to be desired. I'll have 3 orders of bacon, 2 orders of omelet, and a cup of large black coffee. He'll be having 1 order of each, but make his coffee with 2 cream and 1 sugar. Naruto ordered for both him and Phil. Bag everything up, please. Phil wanted to ask how Naruto knew what he would order, but he decided just to let it go. Long, flowing, golden hair. Check. Naruto started his checklist. For what? Phil was still trying to figure it out. Defined and muscular body. Check. Understandable in partial Shakespearean English. Check. Understandable. That's a weird phrasing Naruto used. Do you see what I'm getting at? No, although I have some suspicion. Continue. Alright, let's get more on the nose descriptions. Abnormally high vitality. Check. Body is a converter for some unknown but potent energy. Check. Lightning energy coursing through his body. Need I say more? Naruto continued while pinning Phil with a stare. Phil finally connected the dots. Oh, that makes things complicated. Phil let out. Don't forget the existential crisis half the people on Earth would experience if this gets out. I should send in more agents to monitor the situation. You probably should. At the center of the diner, a group of 4 were waiting for their order. Dr. Jane Foster, an astrophysicist from Culver University specializing in Einstein-Rosen bridge or wormholes, although she hasn't come very far with her chosen field of study until recently. She's a very attractive 5 feet 3 inches woman with brown eyes and hair. However, her slight obsession with her work and scatterbrain tendencies prevented her from having any long-term relationships. Dr. Eric Selvig, a world-renowned theoretical astrophysicist also from Culver University. He's looking out for Jane Foster since her father was his close friend. He stands at 6 feet 3 inches with brown eyes and whitish-brown hair. Darcy Lewis, an undergraduate of Culver University taking political science. For some reason, she decided to assist Drive Foster with her research as an elective. She's a 5 feet 4 inches woman with blue eyes and brunette hair. The last one on the table was one of the most famous men in the connected galaxies. Thor Odinson, crowned prince of the Asgardian Empire. God of thunder and lightning. Standing at 6 feet 3 inches and with a muscular body, he takes for an intimidating yet impressive sight. His long flowing blonde hair, baby blue eyes, strong jawline make him more than just attractive. You could say he looks divine. If you're really the real Thor. Jane's skepticism couldn't be more apparent. Then what are you doing here? Thor adopted a pained expression, and the girls, especially Jane, somehow felt like they kicked a dog. A golden retriever exact, as weird as that is. My father banished me to Midgard after I tried to make him proud by ridding of the frost giants for good. Thor replied. Selvig decided to remain at the sidelines to keep an eye on the arguably insane guest, and to have someone catalog everything that he was saying on the off chance that Thor is actually, well, Thor. Can I say something? Hello. Darcy tried to interject with Thor in Jane's conversation, but she was getting railroaded by the duo's chemistry. Time for some drastic measures. She reached for Jane's cheeks and shook her face hard. Jane, she shouted. What? Jane asked through gritted teeth. Somebody's watching us, Darcy whispered, which immediately got everyone's attention on the table, as well as Naruto a few tables away. Phil, on the other hand, didn't hear it, but he could see that the group's demeanor changed. Everyone's watching us. Have you seen this guy? Jane reasoned while pointing at Thor. No, don't look now, but the old guy and the blondie have been looking over here ever since they came in. Darcy replied. Naruto couldn't help but giggle when he heard Darcy described Phil as the old guy. The blondie's laughing. He must have heard me. How do you know even if it's real? Jane asked. When you need to maintain your position as the queen of the social totem pole from high school to college, like yours truly, you need to develop some skills. Like knowing when a group's talking about you or somebody else or they're staring at you funny. Darcy explained with a shrug. You know the usual. What the hell's happening in high school and colleges these days? Jane commented under her breath. Eric risked a glance toward the duo Darcy mentioned and momentarily locked eyes with the old guy. That confirmed Darcy's suspicion in Eric's mind. He was about to suggest for them to leave when the duo walked towards them with the blonde flashing a bright smile. I haven't heard someone call Phil an old guy before, Ms. Lewis. That put everyone on alert. Well, everyone except for Thor. Let me pay for your meal. Naruto pulled out a small bundle of cash and placed it on the table. Have a nice day, Dr. Foster, Dr. Selvig, Ms. Lewis, Your Majesty. Thor flashed a bright smile for meeting someone who finally recognized him while the rest kept on staring at the duo. Naruto followed Phil out of the diner while laughing his guts out. What the hell was that? That's the universe saying fuck you to Shield Academy information gathering courses. Should have just tossed the lot of them to high school. Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 1, 2010, 1500H local. The field agents have finally finished setting up the field tent surrounding the hammer. All the equipment was set up and ready to go. All that's left was the go signal from the highest-ranking agent to turn on everything. However, Phil didn't give the order. Instead, he ordered everyone to clear the tent and stay outside until he gave the order otherwise. There were only 2 people left inside, Phil and Naruto. So, Captain America's #1 fan can't lift it. That means I probably can't lift it too. Naruto commented with a shrug. Why don't you just try it? Phil asked. Naruto reached for the hammer and tried to lift it to no avail. See, nothing, Naruto said before eyeing the hammer again. But, I wanna see what's the limit on this thing. Naruto turned off all the seals holding back his body. He never turned off ever since he arrived in this world, so it was quite a novel experience. Step back. I may break this thing, and Fury would hate if you get barbecued by lightning. Phil's sense of preservation seems to be on point since he didn't even think of arguing with Naruto. Again, Naruto reached for the hammer and tried to lift it from the rock formation. He couldn't confidently say that the Mjolnir was one of the heaviest things he ever tried to lift. Spider fractures were radiating from his feet, so he pumped earth-natured chakra to the ground to keep it from buckling. Slowly but surely, Naruto lifted the hammer, causing the rock formation to collapse. Lightning was shooting out of it in every which way. Phil couldn't even see lightning surrounding Naruto. It's like the hammer was doing everything in its power to fight off Naruto. Naruto unceremoniously dropped the hammer after almost a minute of lifting it. Woo, that shit's heavy. 10 out of 10 would use it again for weightlifting. Naruto said while wiping off some imaginary sweat. Phil walked towards Naruto while eyeing the aftermath of Naruto's weightlifting. Fractures and scorch marks litter the crater. This mess could mess up with the analysis. Oh well, they wouldn't be worth what our techs are getting paid if they complain about this. Phil retrieved a small radio unit from his pocket and pressed on a button. Open the generators and get in. We got some work to do. Chapter 84, Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 1, 2010, 1900H local. How are the little guys doing? Naruto asked while taking another donut from the box. He's been hanging around in the break room ever since his second favorite person to mess with arrived. And yes, a field tent has a break room. Get over it. First of all, they're not little. The little shits change size. One moment they're the size of a chihuahua. I got no problem with that, and I can admit that some of them are cute. Clint took a shot of his coffee before continuing. But goddamn, I draw the line when they're the size of a polar bear. I should know. One chased the ATV I was using in Greenland. Wow, I thought they'll loosen up a bit and grow to the size of your barn or at least an elephant. The trees would cover them. Naruto nonchalantly replied. One of his clones overseeing the base noticed Thor and Dr. Foster entering the base. He decided to wait and see what would happen. Clint's head turned so fast that Naruto thought he might break his neck. You motherfucker. How large do they grow? Clint asked through gritted teeth. The size of a large hill or a small mountain. There's a gray zone. And you let them play around my house like fucking Lion King. Naruto just stared at Clint incredulously. What? Cooper can't sleep without Disney on. Naruto just raised an eyebrow and continued staring at Clint. Fine. I just like Lion King. But that doesn't. He stopped mid-rant when the alarms started blaring. We're not done, Clint added before running towards the armory. Naruto decided to take a leisurely stroll towards the observation deck above the hammer, where Phil should be. He brought a donut and another cup of coffee just in case Phil would like some. He also ensured that his disguise, which boils down to a suit, black hair, no whiskers, and an ID, was still intact. After some careful dodging of running personnel and a 2-minute walk, he finally reached the observation deck. God damn, can the guy kick ass? Naruto said when he saw in the feeds, Thor beat down 3 highly trained SHIELD agents. Want some? Offering the coffee and donuts. Phil thought about it for a moment before accepting it. I got my eyes on him. Want me to take the shot? Clint's voice can be heard through the radio. Negative. Don't take the shot, Phil promptly replied. I wanna see what happens. He then placed the radio back on the table. It's either Thor is an exceptionally powerful individual even among his people, or their people are naturally more powerful than humans. Based on the stories compiled by the research department. Yes, SHIELD has a historical research department. A massive one at that. It might be a bit of both. 4 minutes and 28 seconds. That's how long it took for the God of Thunder to reach the crater from the moment he breached the perimeter. It's a good thing Sidwell got a flat, or I wouldn't be able to watch this up close. You're saying that like you have nothing to do with it, Phil replied. Naruto stared at Phil before releasing a chuckle. Looks like the prince is ready to use his weapon. Naruto mumbled. All units hold your place. Phil ordered through his radio. Thor slowly walked towards Mjolnir. He's looking at it like it's the important thing in the world, and considering his current predicament, it's quite understandable why he would feel that way. Both Phil and Naruto expected for something to happen when the God of Thunder came into contact with the legendary Mjolnir. Maybe a bolt of lightning, a low rumble from a distance, even a teeny tiny spark. But nothing happened. He couldn't even lift it. Only a copious amount of grunting happened. That's a letdown, Naruto commented right as Thor shouted into the sky, dropped on his knees before dropping to his knees like a defeated man. What a fucking drama queen. Take him down and bring him into interrogation room 1. Phil said into his radio. Outskirts of Puente Antiguo, New Mexico. June 1, 2010, 1930H local. You made my men, some of the most highly trained professionals in the world, look like a bunch of minimum wage mall cops. That's hurtful. Naruto stood outside the interrogation room, watching through the one-way mirror. He has no idea why Phil is going through this route of interrogation when he's already 99% positive that the guy in there with him is the literal God of Thunder. In my experience, it takes someone who's received similar training to do what you did to them. Why don't you tell me where you received your training? Pakistan, Chechnya, Afghanistan, Asgard. Thor can't help but look at Phil. Asgard, huh, don't worry, we'll get the answers out of you. We're good at that. Phil gave Thor one last look before walking out of the room. He saw Naruto still observing Thor. What's the lore behind Mjolnir again? Naruto started. Phil didn't understand why Naruto was asking that but answered with an abridged version nonetheless. Forged by dwarves at the heart of a dying star. Created for the crowned prince of Asgard, Thor. So heavy that only Thor and Odin himself can lift it. Assuming all of that is true, and we have the real Thor, why wouldn't he be able to use it? Even if he was banished and restricted presumably by Odin, why would Mjolnir be here? Naruto asked one after another. Phil took a moment to digest what Naruto said and thought of what he was trying to get at. It didn't take long for Phil to realize what Naruto was getting at. It's a test, a rite of passage, Phil answered. Naruto would expound on the conversation further, but his activated eye saw a slight shimmer washed over the room before a person practically materialized inside, acting like opening the door. Blue eyes, shoulder-length black wavy hair, and wearing a black suit with a green shirt. Naruto quickly realized what was happening. A genjutsu, or rather, an illusion. It's either a shitty one, or his unique constitution made the guy's illusion ineffective. Not Guy, Loki, the fucking god of mischief and illusions. Loki's not even that good at illusions if it doesn't work on Naruto. Even with all the new information, like the king aka Odin, may be dead, and all this shit has something to do with Jotunheim, not to mention the fact that Loki may have limited instant teleportation capabilities, Naruto remained stoic. Not betraying anything to Phil. It didn't even take Loki 5 minutes to visit his supposed brother. Adopted brother perhaps, since Thor and Loki have different biology altogether. If Thor can be described as a natural conductor for whatever that mysterious energy was, Loki was a poor substitute. And don't forget the ice. The guy was practically made of it. Loki walked out the door while still holding on to his illusion based on everyone's reaction, or rather lack thereof. Only Naruto kept track of the god using his Shinigami eyes. Naruto decided to have one of his few idol clones to follow the god. Loki, just like Thor, slowly approached the hammer. But unlike his brother, he gave note to the disrupted surroundings. Like someone forcefully lifted the hammer and was quite successful based on the position of the hammer. It's quite concerning to have someone strong enough that could overwhelm the All-Father's enchantment. Nevertheless, he needs to know if he's worthy now. Loki calmly reached for the hammer and tried to lift it, but as expected, he couldn't. So, Loki's eyes slightly widened when he heard someone call his name. There should be none of these insects should be able to see him. Only the high-ranking, allied, sorcerers or some other exceptions should see through his illusions. Regardless, he's confident that he could fight whatever he encounters in this backwater world. What you doing? Loki recomposed himself and slowly turned around. He saw a man wearing a bright orange jacket standing near the edge of the crater. The man looks to be able to use illusions as well since none of the guards notice him. Greetings, Loki magnanimously replied. You have me at a disadvantage. You know who I am, as you should. But I don't know who you are. Call me Naruto. The man introduced himself haphazardly. Again, what you doing? Trying to lift that hammer there, don't you? Do you even lift, bruh? Loki's temper was slowly thinning with each perceived insult. The only thing holding him back was the threat that Heimdall would be able to see him if he made a mess, and that would be detrimental to his plans. I would love to answer the question. Loki started. However, as this is an official business of the Asgardian royal family, I'm afraid I can't answer. Asgardian, that's what you call yourselves. I should have known, Naruto replied. But you're no Asgardian, aren't you? Loki's pale blue eyes turned even darker. How dare you insult me? Loki practically shouted. Green mist started to flow out of him. I am Loki Odinson, god of mischief, chaos, lies, stories, and outcast. Regent of the Asgardian Empire. It would do you well to give the respect that I am due. Naruto flashed a smile hearing Loki's declaration. He just knew he fucked during his emotional declaration. Regent, huh, Naruto said with a feral grin. That means Odin's still alive. Loki just glared at Naruto. Now the question now is, why would you lie to what I'm assuming is the crowned prince? Loki, in one of the few moments in his life, was caught in his lie. Of course, he could talk himself out of the situation he's in with his superior intellect, but that would leave a problem unsolved. And he does not want any possible future complications. With practiced ease, Loki buffed up his illusions and slowly made his way behind Naruto while leaving an image of himself continuing the conversation. Not a crowned prince. Haven't you heard? He was banished. I'm pretty sure that makes all previous positions null and void. Loki's clone replied. The real Loki, on the other hand, was already in a position to strike. So without wasting any more time, he stabbed his dagger straight into Naruto's lower skull into the brain. A nice, clean kill. Loki's preferred method. Low effort, high payoff. Precisely the opposite of Thor's selected method. However, Naruto didn't fall straight down as Loki expected. Instead, Naruto burst into a small cloud of smoke. That's not nice. Loki quickly turned around and saw another Naruto. An illusion. It can't be a physical clone since he could feel his blade move through flesh and scrape at the bone. I thought we were having a good conversation. Loki called another blade in his left hand and moved towards Naruto. He stabbed and slashed, but Naruto easily dodged his attempts. He tried a few more times while occasionally using his illusions, but it quickly became apparent that Naruto could see through his tricks, and he's outgunned combat-wise. Seeing that he's in a losing battle, Loki moved back and went to a defensive stance. Had enough? Naruto asked. I'm not some barbarian that can't figure out that I'm physically and skillfully outclassed. Loki answered diplomatically. However, he didn't pass 1,000 years old in a combat-related society without an ace up his sleeve. Loki threw a venerable storm of blades towards Naruto before escaping the facility using his short-range transport spell using the same principles as the Bifrost. One moment he's in a crater, the next moment, he's a couple of kilometers away. Hey, you left this. Loki once again heard Naruto's voice. No littering. Behind Loki, again, was Naruto carrying all the blades he threw, but he's quite a distance away. He has no idea how Naruto followed him, but he can only think of one way to escape the insect. Asgard is a special place created by the first Asgardians. It's in a different dimension, and it can only be accessed by moving through Yggdrasil. Basically, he needs to do one thing, even though it might have consequences for his long-term plans. Heimdall, open the Bifrost, Loki shouted. Not a second later, a cylindrical rainbow hit Loki before disappearing and only leaving an ornate mark on the ground. Naruto stared at the ground in a state of relative shock. After a minute, he finally snapped out of it. Fuck. That's something new. Naruto let out. That Hiraishin mark would be a pain to use. Too fucking far, he added before returning back to base. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.